And we are live again because the first stream cut out thanks to the European Union.
Yeah,
And
they were
not at
trying
all my fault. So I am Ernest.
I am Ozymandias.
And I'm Eduardo.
And welcome to episode 7 of the Qué Pasó Podcast. So, guys, ¿Qué pasó?
Okay, so there's plenty of things that we can talk about. So there is Article 13, the end of memes as we know it. There is also one from my home country. So China just told Bachelet to fuck off, basically. And well, also I heard the Italians are also treating her as a dictator loving communist. So well, it was kind of expected. What about in Mexico?
Well, also we have another chapter of the drama about the new airport. Yeah, apparently things aren't going the way AMLO expected. So his people is scrambling for, a way out of this problem for them.
Ooh, that's even better. And while it is not my country, I love it. But Peru has denied, or the Peruvian Congress has pretty much shot down any chance of political reform till 2021. Yay! We're still screwed.
So let's start with obviously we start with Article 13. What do you guys know about Article 13?
Go ahead, Eduardo.
Yes. Okay. It's a copyright. It's a amendment that it will be done to the copyright directive from the European Union, which basically demands that some platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or so get the necessary infrastructure to scan for copyright protected material, and either charge them for the use of that material, or blocking that material from the public eye. Mm-hmm. That's the big problem, because in this day and age, people enjoys a lot their memes, and all memes are have something of copyright protected material. Mm-hmm. So it basically makes it makes it really hard, or maybe impossible, for people in the European Union to access to these contents or create these contents. So this is going to be hard for many people in the internet.
Yeah, for example, I found this post on Reddit. Yes, I know Reddit is not the most reputable source of information, but some guy asked what is exactly Article 13, and the main sentence that this guy says, it will force service providers to incorporate copyright checking software into their sites to ensure that no copyrighted material was ever hosted in the first place. And he gives the example that, for example, let's say goodbye to Star Wars prequel memes, because Star Wars is a company, and he still has the control over the material that is, for example, I don't know, a picture of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. So if you use that image, at least in Europe, or in some countries that have accepted it, they basically going to censor that meme because it has copyrighted material on it. Now, the problem I have is that this, in my opinion, actually deals with a subject of free speech, and the use of information what we give. Now, I don't know exactly how this will be used to control people, considering that they're censoring memes. It's not like they're censoring the will of people to speak openly, but it's just one of those things that makes you wonder that if the European Union is going to turn more and more authoritarian, the days are coming by. They first took our memes, then they take our, I don't know, I don't want to say the point again.
For example, I was reading yesterday an MP from the Labour Party in England. You know what kind of people is the Labour Party these days. Was
Yep.
pushing for a law that basically bans people from speaking on closed forums on the internet. I mean, they want to to mess with the private conversations of people. That's that, and you can go anywhere, and you can. That's almost as far as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's big leftist for you these days.
Well, I mean, it's almost Stasi levels, because, I mean, you think about it, they're monitoring, they want to monitor everything. They want to make sure that your conversations fit their requirements. It's terrifying, to be honest. And the fact that when they passed Article 13, they were clapping, and thumbs up, and everyone was overjoyed, and I'm just there like, what the hell is going on here? You guys have ruined personal freedoms. You can't meme. You can't make parodies. You can't do anything now. It's the funny thing is like Sargon of Akkad or Carl of Swindon or whatever he wants to call himself nowadays, or the Thinkery or anything. He has so many names and nicknames and jokes. But a meeting, an interview with several members of the European Parliament, mostly from UKIP, and he just like, so do people read this legislation? And he's like, no, nobody reads this. They have assistants who read it, then tell us if we should vote on it or not.
Of course.
The funny thing is also,
I mean, do you think that
the terrifying thing about the European... you were roboting there, Ozzy?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that I was saying that. Do you think that people, for example, like Junkers, the one from the European Union, do you think that he actually knows what the people want? In fact, I remember that, and this is something that
he knows.
So something that told you that the European Union doesn't know the struggle of a common man. For example, I remember one time that Junkers telling an interview that the Brexit was that what if you invite some friends to drink beer, and you order a shit ton of beer, and then you don't pay, and then you leave the other guy to pay the bill. Now the problem with that assessment is that many people said this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, because Junkers doesn't seem the guy that goes to a pub after work to drink beer and watch a football match. He seems like the guy who goes to a chalet on the Alps to sip champagne and just say, oh, no, yes, we're doing a very good job. Let's see, let me pat your back because we're doing a very good job. But this is the thing. I mean, the guys at the European Union don't know who are the people who are directing. So there is this guy who I've been reading about, Viktor Orban, the prime minister.
They passed Article 7 on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what about this guy? He's, despite he has been branded by the left as a xenophobe, a corrupt, a far righter, and a dictator, he's one of the guys with most popular support in the European Union. And people love him, and I think the reason why is this. Well, first of all, let's say that during his youth he was an anti-communist activist, and I think he realizes that the European Union is slowly turning into a Soviet Union-esque style of government. In fact, I cannot understand why most leftists support the European Union.
It's one of the principles of the first principles of the socialism, Marxism, communism which was internationalism. Workers of the world unite.
Turning up the borders.
Yeah, they think that they are uniting a struggling classes across the world. In this case, across Europe. They are not. I mean, it's not the same problems of the middle class Frenchmen to those of the middle class Polishmen, but nevertheless they want to treat all of the people with all of their different problems as the same thing. If they want to do that, they should become a single country and go and move forward from it, but not
They won't.
not
They won't
this
do that
thing.
though, because I don't think that they will do that. And the funny thing is that you're right though. Like they think that everything they do is for the good of everyone, and where the state, like they say, well, listen, what's good for Poland, but I mean that's like saying what's good for, I don't know, Aguascaliente is fantastic for or Oaxaca,
Tamaulipas.
or for Tijuana. Everything in Tijuana, what happens in should be good for, I don't know, Jalisco.
Speaking about the Oaxaca and Aguascalientes, it's going to be blood in between us, because some parts in the north of Aguascalientes got a license to produce mezcal as like their origin denomination. So
Oh, wow.
and people in Oaxaca is really angry because they're taking all our jobs and shit, and no, we aren't.
But it's also yes.
Go on.
So it's also like, it reminds me that here in Chile we have this problem that every politician seems only to care about Santiago, because we have a problem with how our regional system works. For example, our Congress is not in Santiago; the capital is in Valparaiso. The problem is that no one goes to work there, and these guys vote and they say, "Oh, this will of course be good for the people." But the problem is that what is good for Santiago, the capital, is not good for the rest. And this is what's happening with the European Union and inside the thing of Article 13. Now, when people ask me about what I think about the European Union, I basically said it's a system that it has already outlived its use. I mean, how it is possible that many countries are basically surrendering their autonomy and their government to Brussels and Berlin is something that I don't tolerate. I mean, I think that each European country should dictate the laws as they should do. I mean, something that we can agree with the European Union, freedom of movement, stuff like that's okay. But once you realize the effect that it has had on the economy, I mean, Greece is a very interesting example of the economic catastrophe that the euro was there. In fact, I think Greece still, along with Italy, two of the countries with massive unemployment on the youth. So I think Article 13 pretty much just continues to show us that the European Union, or the bureaucrats in Brussels, don't really care about the common man. They care about the major companies, the lobbyists, the wealthy. They don't care about the struggle of the daily European. That's, for example, why they say, "Oh, no, let's bring thousands of migrants here. What could possibly go wrong?" Because it's not them that had to pay the consequences of what they're doing now that they're here. It's not them who are suffering what is going on right now. And then they are surprised when they're looking through their window saying, "Oh, look, the far right is on the rise. We knew that it was coming." Yet you didn't do nothing.
No, it is true. And by the way, what you guys are saying there, like about what's going on and like in Santiago, what they do, they'll focus on, like, say, for example, Santiago. They do that everywhere. Like even here in Newfoundland, it's like, well, I know the rest of the province needs roads and drinkable water. We have to build this roundabout in St. John's, and that's really, really important because people need to get to Starbucks faster. I wish I was joking. We're also going to build an incredibly ugly hotel in the historic part of downtown. It looks like a really crappy Jenga block setup. I'll send you guys a picture later, but the council is probably going to agree to it, except for like 2 hippies. But it's weird. But I mean, Article 13 is scary. It's actually the start of something like if the European Union had stayed what it was meant to be, a common trading market, I really wouldn't care. But the Germans kind of figured out the perfect way to take over Europe without having to do twice in the last century. They kind of learned their lesson. And so now they're going about this in a very Machiavellian kind of way.
It's like this guy from the last episode, Thomas, told us that the current leftist politicians are really disconnected from as we were saying before, are really disconnected about the common man's life. So they don't know what's going on. I think they don't even know the reach of this new law.
Yeah, I mean, I think because I told you the guys at European Union are fucking dinosaurs. I mean,
they're all boomer. Like, I mean, like Sargon said, they're all boomers. And it's true, because these people don't know about the internet. They're all like 60-year-old men who have, they grew up with like 8-track tapes and polyester disco pants and stuff. They don't know about memes.
This is why I say that. For example, this is why I supported Brexit. At least I supported the idea, but now it has become so unsustainable that now I don't go where they will go with it. But the thing with that's the same thing I say every time. The European Union is basically pretty much Jurassic Park. Every time I see the European Parliament is filled with dinosaurs, and I doubt that those people have have seen what's the actual problems of the common man in Europe, because this is the thing that is going on. I mean, they're doing all this shady shit now. Article 13 is going on. I mean, do you think that people are not going to retaliate with these things? Because we were seeing, for example, in Hungary and Poland, we are seeing that the right in those countries is getting more bolden. I mean, as I said, with Viktor Orban, for example. So, and I say this to many people: don't be surprised when you fuck with so many people. They will just follow someone to fuck you up. That's what happened with Trump. People were so desperate to just still fuck up the establishment that they voted Trump. And this will happen in the European Union. Now, I think the biggest issue I now have is that if I wanted to send memes to my European friends, I will now have to do with Pigeon and send them like an SD card.
Yeah.
And be like meme. Now, I think that now the profession of meme trafficker or a meme crime syndicate will now be a thing. Like, we will create our own like instead of narcos, memers.
Oh, that'll be. Oh God, the Federal Bureau of Meme Investigation. Could you just imagine, like, you've got like the meme, you've got the SWAT team, and it's like, look out, he's got a Pepe meme, fire,
he's reaching. You know, even though I think about that, I always think about a black man, and they say, wait, he's black. Let's not shoot. Why? Because if we shoot you, we're gonna get lambasted on social media, and that will create more memes. Okay, so what do you want to do? Just put your hands on the ground. He puts it.
It's like
he's reaching.
It's like, oh, he's tweeting, fire. But no, it's actually it's really scary, and it sets a very, very, very dangerous precedent. And what's stupid is that the MEPs literally agreed to allow European law to supersede theirs. They've literally just given up national control over this decision. It takes precedence over our state laws, which is terrifying because it says your parliament doesn't matter. Nothing matters except the unity. It's like something in a Fallout 1. It's like the first Fallout, you know, the unity.
Yeah, but I said I told you about that every day the European Union will seem more like it tries to be a super state basically. Like they want to be the United States of Europe, but and now they're going full damage control to the Brexit. Huh?
Or the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah. Well,
except instead of a Habsburg, you've got a Junker.
And we know what happened with when the Holy Roman Empire actually went through, you know, internal struggles. They went all out war in between themselves. But I don't see this time around, you know, England for the time being, and Germany and France going to war against Italy, Hungary, and Poland.
But it's kind of in the air that Poland, Hungary, and Italy are just being the bad guys of the European Union. But also something important I want to mention about the Article 13 is the fact that Article 13 will not have an effect with a direct effect on U.S. citizens. It might have an indirect effect of what it gets from the EU. But I think that we should be what I think what we should do in solidarity to our European friends is now send them shitloads of memes for planes, like drop USBs filled with the newest memes because now they can have access to them.
It's going to be like North Korea. It's going to be like North Korea.
Fuck those starving kids on Africa. Europeans are now suffering because memes are taken away from them. So now instead of filling planes with food and water, we'll fill them with USBs and portable computers with tons of memes. This is you should create a campaign. And a campaign
the plan commercial.
Yeah.
The memes shall inherit the earth. The memers shall inherit the earth, I should say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that we should. It's just ridiculous. And
just think about this, guys. In the future, there may be like some Diocletian like style persecutions against memers, and it'll be like the meme martyrs, and they'll be venerated. So you'll have like Pope Francis the 30th, like venerating Count Dankula as like they're like Saint Dankula, giver of the dankest of memes.
Saint Dankula, Lord of Nazi pugs.
Oh my! Debbie Dankula, patron saint of Nazi pugs, and Sargon, patron saint of. No, actually, Dankula would be patron saint of traps. And awkward photos on Snapchat.
Yeah. Uncle photos. I show you my dick, please respond.
But oh god, there's so many things with that, guys. I think we can move on from Article 13.
Yeah, but now we understand that the problem with Article 13 is that, I think that the media and I think many YouTubers have actually exaggerated the overall effect. But it's not the effect or what it is. I think it's the precedent that it sets.
It does, and it definitely does set up that very scary precedent. And if I was a lawyer, I'm sure I could come up with something, to say about it. But I'm just a newfie in a Peruvian hat, so
I think people will, fight this in the courts.
But I don't think. But I think though the courts will rule in favor of the European Union. Or even they don't. They might not even. They might, but the European courts are weird, so we'll figure it out. But guys, I this has been bugging me for a few days, so I've got to talk about it. The Peruvian Congress has recently decided, or at least I should say, the president of the Peruvian Congress, Daniel Salaveri, has said that I know we need political reform, but it's not my priority or my problem. And we're going to wait till after the next congressional elections.
Well, that's well, just to put people hearing on the presidents, the Peruvian Congress, well, and the Peruvian government uh, uh, has been going through some weird periods of almost like constitutional crisis. Almost, I
They
say.
they
Uh,
have. I mean, like, oh, sorry.
yeah, yes, Lama, if I get this wrong, please correct me.
Yeah,
Love you, Lama.
everyone loves our cafecita.
Yes.
But the problem with this is that the president of Peru now, Martin Vizcarra, wants these reforms, including the changing of Peru's legislature from a unicameral, like a one tier legislature, to a bicameral, which is of course two. And the Fujimoristas in the Congress, which they control it. They're the largest party under Keiko Fujimori in Fuerza Popular. They don't want this because it destroys the power that they have. And one thing the Fujimoris like is power.
Oh yeah.
Except Kenji, he's an idiot. He
They're
screwed
Japanese.
it up.
They want to start their empire of the rising sun in Peru again.
There's actually a thing about this. Apparently, the first Sapa Inca was actually a Japanese fisherman that washed up in Peru. No, people actually believe this. People do believe this, and it's fascinating. But when Fujimori was running for president against Mario Vargas Llosa, he portrayed himself to the Quechua peoples and the Aymara as a like in that way, like he wore like a lot of the traditional clothes and ponchos and stuff, and people thought that like, hey, he's the second coming of the first Sapa Inca. And then he just overthrew the government. But anyway, though, long story short, this Congress is actually as a result of Alberto Fujimori's quote-unquote reforms. Because when he seized power in the Atagolpe, which for non-Spanish speakers means the self-coup, he decided that he didn't like the Constitution. And because of the fact he controlled the army and the Congress, he changed the Constitution and changed it so that instead of having like a House and a Senate, it was just the Congress. It was just that was it. And it worked out well for him. It allowed him to, essentially fight Sendero Luminoso, the MRTA, groups like that. And now it's a dinosaur. It's a useless article, and is more of a threat to the Republic than anything else. But either way, Martin Vizcarra wants this passed, or he did, and now Salaverry is just like, listen, I'm going to actually get the quotes. Let me see. Let's bring this up. Let me see. The head of the Congress, the Fujimorista Daniel Salaverry, spoke on Wednesday about the reforms proposed by the president during the commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the promulgation of the 1993 political constitution. For Salaverry, political reform is not urgent as judicial reform is, because the results will only be seen in 2021. We must start the debate on political reform, he says, but they have different objectives and characteristics. The reform of justice must be immediate because we cannot continue with the headless CNM, which is like their magistrates. The political process reform we will see in 3 years. There is time to discuss it and evaluate it, but we do not need it. And then he goes and praises the people who captured Abimael Guzman, who, for anyone who doesn't know, is an asshole. And
Sendero Luminoso, anyone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he he looks like a happy old grandpa now, but he's actually a murderous psychopath. Oh no, like he looks absolutely harmless. Nobody takes Abimael Guzman seriously. Like I know like a lot of. Well, they did when he was blowing up their houses.
I mean, I read some things about Sendero Luminoso, so they were very. You see, they started as a group of, I think it was students, and they were exhorted by the professors to start a Maoist revolution in Peru. They claimed to fight.
Yeah,
for the
that was
people.
Guzman. Guzman was the professor.
Yeah, they claimed to fight for the people, but they burned the houses of the people that they claimed to defend. And this is funny because I once watched a documentary that spoke about a valley in Peru that harvests, I think, 20% of all the world's coca. And the peasants who live there actually have bulletproof vests and assault rifles. The reason why they have them is not because to protect the coca plantations, it's to protect themselves from the Sendero Luminoso guerrillas, because they say police never came and no one cared about those people in the far side, and they have to defend themselves because El Sendero usually came, they steal the food, burn their houses, they say who wants to join the fight of the proletariat, and who never didn't join, they killed them. And they were very unpopular for a while in Peru. They were very unpopular for that in Peru. They actually achieved to hold a huge chunk of the country for a while. But then,
well, they did. But you see, they went crazy because they started executing people. They started seizing this and that, and the campesinos, the farmers, and that they really didn't like people stealing their stuff.
I mean,
so they ended up fighting.
The campesinos were people who lived there for generations. They farmed the land, and that's what they did to live. And seeing the fact that then some commie asshole comes with an AK rifle and says, okay, now this is from the people. If you don't want to give it to the people, I'm going to kill you. And they say, no, pudrete. And so they equipped themselves and they fought against the Sendero.
Well, actually, not exactly. What happened is, in the early 90s, Fujimori came up with this idea called the Ronderos, or peasant rounds, like the Rondero Campesinos. So what they would do is they would give them surplus military weapons. Well, mostly they give them shotguns and bolt rifles and just said, have fun, go kill some commies. And they'd all go out. And the funny thing is, despite the fact that they were less well-armed than the military, the Ronderos actually had a high rate of success because they knew where all the Senderistas were hiding. And things like that. So they essentially won the battle. And then of course the campesinos won at the end of the day. Because Sendero tortured too many people.
Isn't it funny that the people beat the presumed army of the people? Communists got beat up.
That's the best part of it.
It is kind of like a tasty irony about it. But it's also funny that I'm reading some things about the Sendero. The funny thing about Sendero was, during the 1981 to 1984, they ruled large chunks of the country. Now now recently they still have presence, but it's very small.
It's nothing. Like their presence is mostly restricted to the Amazonas. Or V-Ray, they call it. V-Ray.
Yeah, so be careful when you go there.
Yeah, I don't have my yellow fever vaccines anyway, so I'm not going to risk it.
Oh, so look, this is what I found. So
yellow fever keeps me away from communism.
So this is what I found. So in 1991, President Alberto Fujimori issued a law that gave the rondas a legal status. The rondas were like the patrols of the people. From that time, they were officially called Comités de Autodefensa, Committees of Self-Defense. They were armed usually with 12-gauge shotguns and trained by the Peruvian army. According to the government, there were approximately 7,226 Comités de Autodefensa as of 2005, almost 5,000 and are located in central region of Peru. And one of the things I'm reading is that the support for the Shining Path at first was was great because they were presenting themselves as saviors against a totalitarian government. But then they disrespect indigenous populations. They attack peasants. Also, also let's say this very honestly. Latin America has never had a very good story when it comes to communist groups.
No, they haven't. But I mean, here's the only problem with the Ronderos now is that since the Ronderos have just turned into a weird group of vigilantes, and you read about it all the time in Comercio and La República and things like that, where like the Ronderos are like going around beating the shit out of people who they don't like. Now, and the government, it's hard for the government to really say, guys, knock it off, because the Ronderos have guns and will fight back, and the police, and also too, the police, I've heard, at least from, in the countryside, the local cops give them a break because they keep people in line. They beat up the drug dealers, They also extort them in incredible amounts. But, it's the same thing with the autodefensas in Michoacan, in Mexico. Like, those guys were originally made to fight the drug dealers and ended up just taking over the drug trade themselves. But the Ronderos don't really get involved with the trade. They just shake down the dealers, handle local disputes, beat up a few people, and the police in the countryside are just like, cool, we don't have to do paperwork. We don't have to go through a legal process.
They just leave those guys to the work.
No, they do. They have unofficial approval from the Peruvian National Police. Now, not all police officers are like that. The Ronderos' activities are tacitly approved of, which is a problem. But getting back to what Presidente de Congreso Salaverry says, I mean, this is bad because a lot of people really want these reforms. It's really important because Peru needs. I mean, they're in a bit of a crisis right now. They've got these different parties. They're squabbling. Nothing's getting done. We're essentially what was his name? Alan Garcia situation, because before Fujimori, there was Alan Garcia, and he screwed everything up horribly bad. He actually made them adopt the Nuevo Sol, because they used to have the currency called the Inti, and he pulled a Maduro, and the inflation went so bad that they had to destroy the currency. So it was messed up. But long story short, I mean, I think I'm going to keep an eye on this and let you guys know what's going on. Like Lama said in the chat that President Vizcarra is having a message about this, so maybe we'll get an update soon, or maybe we'll handle it next episode. But
and
I
we talk about
now.
Can we talk about that China just basically said to Bachelet to fuck off? That I want to talk about that so badly.
Yes, we really should, because that is rather important. That former President de Chile, Michelle Bachelet, is now, I believe, she's like the Human Rights Commissioner of the UN.
Yes, and I will take it from here. So, for you people who don't understand who Bachelet was mostly social. I would say socialist because that's what she is. Socialist president of Chile. She was the first female president in our history. There is nothing wrong with she was the first president, although that's one of her major achievements thus far. Now, the problem with her, during her first mandate, she was very popular. The problem was that she again ran for the presidency, but this time her government was mostly shit, full of cases of corruption, criminality rise up, so it was horrible. Now, the funny thing is that most feminists and social leftist people here said that her government was okay, that she did many things for women and to empower feminism and stuff, but she didn't. These people still hated them, and just when she left and we got Piñera, these people start saying, no, please come back. Now, what is going on, to give you some context, in the western region of China called Xinjiang, which is if I'm not mistaken,
Central
it's
Asia.
Central Asia. Yes, like in the near the border with Kyrgyzstan,
Yeah.
Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, I think. And what's going on recently is that the Chinese government has been locking people in concentration camps, and political commissars are visiting house by house because there's a problem in Xinjiang, because the region is a majority Muslim region, and and the Chinese government is having a problem with Islamist militants who want to create their own separatist state on the region this region. So as any head of state will want, Xi Jinping just has enacted this program that, of course, I admit is highly authoritarian. But the problem they have now is that it's not that easy. They don't know exactly where to look for this guy. So they have to do the reforms. Now, I don't support this idea of creating just basically concentration camps. But I think this is something that the Chinese must do on their own. I don't think someone has to put their hands on it. So the estimated population is like 21 million, and the 45.84% are Uyghur, like the guy from the Young Turks. Those are mostly Turkic ethnic group, most of them Muslim. So all these things happen because this is something that has gone on for decades, basically. Bachelet came and said that she wanted to send UN observers to know what was the situation in Xinjiang. Now, before I go on, I didn't knew that this thing was going on. It completely flew over my head, and this is the first time I'm actually reading about this. And she said that they will send it, but then China called Bachelet and tell her that she must respect Chinese sovereignty and realize in an objective way that their duties is to hear about information from all sides. Because she only has received information of what the Chinese are doing, but she hasn't accurately realized that there is not just that the Chinese are saying, okay, there's no why, let's create concentration camps to enclose the Uyghur. No. They're doing it because there's a problem with Muslim jihadis. They're not only have a problem with creating a separatist state, but also have a problem with how I said this with I forgot. Sorry, but you realize what I'm trying to say. Yes, they have a problem with the Han, the major ethnicity in China. There actually have been attacks, ethnically motivated attacks against Han, the Han majority in China.
Yeah, and this all came with the president of Italy, telling Bachelet to mind her own business about the refugees coming from the Mediterranean. So she got to, to how would you call it? Invitations to go and mind her own business in the span of 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, I mean it's a really hard time for the UN right now, having countries like Saudi Arabia in his Human Rights Council
and Venezuela.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of joke is this? When the United States quit the Human Rights Council, I was like, well, at least they are not being hypocritical about it. Of course, they have problems with, back in the time in Iraq and Afghanistan with waterboarding and torturing war prisoners. But
just a quick note. I think one time Steven Crowder said that waterboarding wasn't even torture, but I was like, come on, dude. I mean,
he submitted to some sort of waterboarding. I mean, in his show he submitted himself to waterboarding.
He seems to me to prove it. But yeah, that's well, when you sorry, that's the thing with with the UN. I think many people don't trust the UN on this matters. But let me listen to your opinions, guys, because personally, I think that the Chinese are the ones who need to resolve this problem because it's something that concerns them. I of course condemn any type of concentration camps being built and the obviously Orwellian control that now are affecting on this minority. But I have to understand that there's a broader context to this. It's not that they one day decided to do this. It's that there is a problem with Islamic militants in this region. So what's your opinion about this?
Oh, there's of course a problem with Islamic extremism in that region of China, but there's something else, and I was reading about it the other day, that China is experimenting with some really Orwellian methods of surveillance there. Like, basically, if you are walking through a street, the cameras can do facial recognition of you there, and if you go to the subway and you are under suspicion of cooperating with terrorists,
Mm-hmm.
the subway system maybe tells the subway system refuse you service just because you are not a good citizen.
That's ridiculous, man.
That's just an example.
But the thing,
It's a far bigger thing. If you want to buy plane tickets, the same. Or if you want to get something from
citizenship,
a service from the government may deny it to you.
Incredible.
like,
Yes,
but the way I see it, like on China and that is that I don't think it is, as much as I respect human rights. It's a very subjective thing. I mean, the rights, and some people might disagree with me, but the rights are generally what the government says they are, which is true. People think a fundamental human right that's set in stone, but it's not. And unless you're willing to move away to somewhere that has a higher state of honesty, and where you're allowed to have these certain rights and freedoms, you just got to deal with it. And I mean, the thing about China is that we can't implement, say, Western moral democracy on the Chinese. It's not going to happen. We can't do it. And
Yeah.
I honestly don't think we should, because while democracy is a wonderful thing, it's not our to tell other countries how to run their nation and how to rule their people. If China keeps up the way it does, the Uyghur population, they're going to have a serious issue. It's going to be a violent uprising, and it's only going to get worse. So I think that if I was the UN, Michelle Bachelet, Trump, I would just be like, cool, you guys do what you got to do, but when shit hits the fan, don't come to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I agree with you in that statement. I think that I will say that. I mean, if the Chinese say, okay, let's leave it to us, I will say, okay, but if terrorists are blowing up Beijing, don't come to us because we warned you. So, but for once, I really just laughed when I heard that the Chinese did this, because I don't know what many leftists here have of Bachelet. She's not.
Yeah.
She's not the great president that many of them are hyping her to be. She was mediocre in her second term. Her first term was great. And let me see if also an Italian newspaper just called her a commie-loving, dictatorship-loving communist. And I like to say that that's something that many people have called her here. And I actually also laugh because I said, thanks, Italians. Well, considering that now they have a far-right government, I don't care about that. But he said the newspaper, the right-wing newspaper, Il Giornale, gave an editorial against the ex-president, signed from from journalist Domenico Ferrara, who says that Bachelet is a person full of shadows, questioned by her moralizing invasion. Okay, this must be good. So he said that in Italy, she said something against question Italy's anti-immigration policies. What do you know about what's going on in Italy, by the way?
I know enough that right now they're trying to readjust immigration policy because of all the the South African or North African arrivals.
Apparently, they want to return at least 500,000 illegal immigrants to Africa.
Shit. I mean, they would try. I mean, I've heard people on the left actually just complaining about the far right government that is now in Italy. I forgot the name of the party in the government, but
Lega.
Yes, and what happened was that when I read about the news, they said in Italy there was all the signs that said that this guy will actually win, because what's going on in Italy is that Italy has economical problems carried over from the European Union, and what's worst is the fact that now they're bringing thousands of migrants each day, and I think better yet is the fact that the youth unemployment in Italy is one of the highest in the European Union. And with this whole sending back migrants, it will be hard because, I mean, these guys won't just leave. You won't just arrive and say, okay, you might have to go. And they will say, okay, no, you will arrive and say, okay, you have to go. And they will shout at you something in, I don't know, Arab. And there will be a gunfight or something. But this goes against, again, she says that, I'm reading the news, that the funny thing is that the journalist says that Bachelet is so good criticizing Italy, but she doesn't criticize every dictatorial regime that is going on. For example, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. I mean, she hasn't said nothing against Venezuela, basically.
That's kind of stupid. You know, you ignore the problem doorstep that has caused your country eventually will cause your country a bit of problems, and you just ignore it. It's so stupid because the crisis in Venezuela is closer to home, and it's got much more reaching effects.
That's another problem with the UN, because they don't want to. They are more fixated on condemning countries like Israel, like Italy now, Hungary, or countries like that, instead of talking about Venezuela, North Korea, or whatever is happening in China. Well, in China on a general sense, or Russia, but no, they prefer to see what the hell is going down with with the Israel, or they don't even speak about Iran, and they are one of the greatest sponsors of terrorism in the world,
also, along with Saudi Arabia.
Yep. But
yep.
I mean, that's something that the UN I don't think is gonna survive much longer. And it will be remembered as something as the League of Nations. The League of Nations is remembered as some ineffective international body. Well, the UN is becoming that. Well, the UN is also that, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, because the problem with the League of Nations had at first was that it was an ineffective group trying to prevent any kind of future conflict. The problem was that it didn't have the authority to do it. The problem with the UN basically now is that, for one, they don't say, for one, many people inside, for example, Bachelet, don't say nothing about Venezuela. And for the other hand, now they're complaining that, oh no, something is going on in China. Okay, but let's be clear here. What's going on in Venezuela has been for I think at least 2 years. And what's going on in China is something that has been going on for decades, and you just recently decided to do something about it. You don't have a sympathy for me. I think this is the problem with now what is going on is that we're realizing that these supranational organisms
It's
are being ineffective as
and
time goes on. The European Union is. I think the European Union will not outlive in the next 10 years. I think in the next decade, the European Union will be just a memory.
it's
Or it'll be a super state, the likes of which we haven't seen since the Holy Roman Empire.
yeah.
Probably. But I think that many countries like Poland, Hungary, and Italy will go without a fight.
And in the guise of the UN, this will be my pick of the week, a book called Shaking Hands with the Devil from a fellow countryman from Ernest, Lieutenant General Romeo Dallaire.
Oh yeah, Romeo Dallaire. He went through some stuff in Rwanda.
He was the commanding officer of the Rwanda Mission for Peace during the genocide there. He is the highest ranking military that has been diagnosed with PTSD.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and in result of all the Rwanda thing, I mean, he in this book he talks about, it's like an indictment of the UN, how they cut costs or didn't want to pay a political price to giving him the required assets. So he's I mean, he asked for like 15,000 men. He only got like 500, no 5,000, five and poorly trained Bangladeshi soldiers, and he received orders to do not interfere with, do not shoot back the people, killing themselves.
Yes. They receive orders that they should only engage if they were attacked. And this just is also another example that the UN is a system that is highly effective. I mean, the blue helmets have rarely been effective in certain areas.
No, they're generally pushovers. I mean, like when the Congo crisis hit, they essentially just gave way and let the rebels kill the elected leader of the Congo.
Yeah, and look who they sent: soldiers from Bangladesh, from India. They are not the best trained soldiers.
No, also, I will. I think if we do something like meaning, I will send soldiers from the nations that they're going now in strife. For example, if there's a crisis in Congo, I will send people from the neighboring countries, because what do people of Bangladesh care about the people of Congo, for example?
Exactly.
You know who's the country that pays still today pays the most? I think 2016, 2017. You know who's the country that pays the most for the blue helmets?
Who?
The US. 28.57% of funding to the blue helmets comes from the United States.
Well, China will be fixing that.
Yeah. Then China 29%, Japan 9.68%, Germany 6.39%, and you're right. Bangladeshi soldiers. In fact, I read that Bangladesh is the country that actually has sent the most amount of troops to the peacekeeping missions. I mean, I think the only peacekeeping mission that actually worked was the one in Haiti. You don't remember, in Haiti there was an earthquake, and the country was in such a catastrophic state that that the United Nations had to send the blue helmets to maintain the peace before the country tore itself apart. Now, there were actually Chilean blue helmets who went there along with a mission to keep the peace in Haiti. And what I remember about that, when I was here I was watching during the news. Yes, I forgot. It was not only the earthquake, but it was also the 2004. There was a coup d'état. There was
Yeah, against
And
Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, I remember that mostly they sent Brazilian peacekeepers, and
Jamaicans.
then there were Chileans who were there. Now, supposedly, like here it says that the mission ended in 15th of October 2017, and what I remember about that was that it was the only mission I could say or agree that it was that it was effective, because it wasn't that they were facing, for example, in Congo. In Congo, you have thousands of tribes that want to kill each other, and you got an entire country that their neighbors want, because Congo has the largest mineral reserves of Africa, and many of them are minerals required for various types of technologies. And
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, you can, because sometimes I read the numbers, and you can't just maintain such a large country with just like 10,000 men.
And yeah, and there's the, well, in the Congo crisis, there you see all the implicated parties. I mean, even countries like Chad or Sudan are in way deep in the Congo crisis. And you say they are having their own problems, and but they have money and resources to devote to the stabilization of another country in the region. That's really irresponsible for their part. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, once you realize that Congo has at least, I think, four of what they call conflict resources, called coltan, cassiterite, gold, and wolframite, which are minerals required for various types of technological implements, and that's why everyone is fighting over Congo. And to this day, Congo is a failed state because militias rule most. In fact, I'm reading the parts who are fighting. There's not only the Congo government against militias, it's also against anti-Rwandan militias. Sudan is in there, Burundi, Rwanda, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Chad. So it's just a shit show back there because everyone wants a stake of what is going on there.
yeah,
But
I mean,
I think
Mugabe invaded the Congo in the 80s also.
Or well for him.
yeah, he knows the way. Mugabe knew the way.
The way.
Well, now he knows the way out of Harare.
Yeah. But I think with the three of us can agree that the problem with supranational organizations like the European Union and the UN right now is that in certain cases they're mostly ineffective, and the case of the European Union, I don't think that many countries will now want to surrender their entire government apparatus to Brussels. I think I can't say how much this organization will last. I mean, I think the UN will live for a while longer until people realize that overall the UN is actually
It's a
not
toothless
helping.
tiger. I mean,
Yes.
No one's scared of the UN because they're like, oh well, you guys should fix your act or else, and they're just like, well, f you, I'm getting out of the UN, but you can't. What are you gonna do? Well, we're gonna sanction you.
Do
Cool.
you?
Yeah, and
What?
I think that what should happen really now is that we should share this. For example, with the European Union, will say it's okay that countries now want more autonomy. Now, the problem we have now is that the far right is now getting more power in Europe, and that's actually something that I'm quite afraid of it. And in the case of the UN, I'm not sure how to fix it, or I'm not sure how to change how to change it, because it's obvious that the countries need cooperation. It's obvious that we need some organization that regulates cooperation between countries. But as you say, the UN is a toothless tiger. It might be large, it might be imposing, but it won't harm you. It won't do nothing to you because it has no power.
And look, for example, what happened. Do you know why the United States never sends troops for the peacekeeping missions?
Nah, not since Somalia.
Exactly.
Yeah, not in Somalia.
And I think that's one of the things that Bill Clinton did right, which was telling the UN, if you want me to commit military personnel to do your peacekeeping missions, you have to give me a really thoroughly detailed schedule of how are we going to enter, what do we going to need, what are we
Also,
going to do? Yeah, every
also, yeah, but it's also I've read many things about the peacekeeping mission in Somalia. I mean, but the problem with the UN is that they believe no, we just need to send a couple of peacekeepers, some armored vehicles, and it will be okay. They were getting swarmed by Somali gunmen everywhere. And the thing I read about Somalia was that well, it was very hard because the intervention in Somalia by the U.S. is mostly buried because it's a very bleak operation that was made just for support of the UN. And what I read was that
it was a total failure.
yeah,
Oh no,
when
yeah, it
they
was.
sent the Marines, the Rangers, and the 160 SOAR, which was I think armored vehicles.
No,
the
SOAR is Special Operations Air Rescue.
Yes, yeah. So sorry for misunderstanding. So what I remember, they also appear in the movie Black Hawk Down, which is not a very accurate depiction of what happened, but you can get the idea. And what I realized was that the Marines and the Rangers they knew what they needed to do to maintain the peace. They needed gunships, they needed tanks, because they know that the Somali couldn't do shit against armored vehicles. I mean, yeah, they had RPGs, but they couldn't do nothing. Yet the problem was that the UN and the bureaucrats and the US said, no, we don't need to send choppers. It's okay. I mean, we can. I mean, we're sending the special forces of the US against some average Somali shit kickers who are not going to put up much of a fight. And it was a total failure. And to this day, Somalia is a country divided by sectarian violence and militias.
Yeah,
The
and
Ethiopians just bombed them, actually.
It's funny that Ethiopia is mostly okay. In fact, this is what I'm reading every time I found it. Somalia is by this moment a failed state.
that's a problem way back to the independence of the country. They wanted to go in a military campaign to uh, restore what they call the Greater Somalia, which was parts of Kenya, parts of Ethiopia, and make a big state from. I think it was a medieval sultanate there.
Yeah, and they screwed up really, really badly.
Yeah, well, that's another thing because first the Americans and their allies tell them, no, I can't give you the military support for that. The Soviets tell them, do you want the military support for that? And they say yes, and they became communists for a while. They went to war against Ethiopia, and the problem with that was that the Soviet Union was sponsoring Ethiopia at that time too. So Ethiopia told them that. So what is going to be? Are you going with Somalia or with us? And they left Somalia to fend for themselves, and
But
basically
yeah,
everybody beat them up.
yeah, but guys, I think we're getting a little off topic.
Yeah,
sorry.
We're burning the oil here. We've been going on already for about an hour and a quarter.
Yeah, it's okay, but it usually happens when you talk about an interesting subject.
Yeah,
It is. It does. I'm just trying to move everything along so we can cover as much as we can in our brief amount of time left, because we usually try to keep this an hour and a half at least. Also, we're all kind of tired because it was my birthday and it's Mexico's Independence Day. Oh, yay! I'm older.
yeah.
I mean, I'm 20 and I feel old by now.
Oh, got it. Eduardo, he doesn't know anything, does he?
No. You're in the prime of the youth. Wait to be like us, 29.
Oh yeah, everything goes downhill, man. Like next thing you know, you're wondering while your hair's falling out, and you liver spots, and you suddenly have a strong desire for tapioca pudding. Like me, like man, like
Okay.
yes, but now AMLO. What's that lovable fellow been up to today?
Well, as you may have heard, the airport has been a massive headache for his government now. As first, the MIT, the specialized body of the MIT, he, told AMLO and the government that his plan for building a new terminal in the military base of Santa Lucia uh, was not was the worst option. Was for the their plan was building this terminal in Santa Lucia
Mm-hmm.
and um, and keep the current airport working. The problem is the airport and Santa Lucia would interfere one. Well, their traffic will interfere. Sorry, will interfere the traffic from Santa Lucia with the current airport. The other option is building, as it is built now, a new airport in Mexico City. Well, yeah, in the bed of Texcoco Lake. That will replace the airport
Mm-mm.
and and it will be bigger and will absorb a lot of air traffic from all around. It will be really beneficial, but they are arguing that, oh no, if you build it in a lake, it's gonna sink, and it's going to be a disaster. And man, Mexico City is built the whole thing on a fucking lake. You cannot complain about that.
Great TikTok, yes.
They are also then AMLO after this said, well, let's give it a shot to the local talent. Ask the civil engineers college here. Okay, they made their assessment, and they say, okay, the Santa Lucia terminal will be way more expensive than finishing the Neo airport. And now these people is like, well, there's no there. Let's not rush to conclusions. To conclusions. We don't know yet if it's going to be more expensive or not. And there's another thing that the Enrique Peña Nieto, Secretary of Tourism, said. Oh, guys, he said,
Mhm.
if you cancel the new airport, it's going to affect the credit rating for Mexico, and
What?
people will not like is not going to like to invest here after canceled works of an airport and this pharaonic project of AMLO, the Mayan train, which will be in the Yucatan Peninsula. Nobody will want to invest in that because what if they cancel it too?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
That idea
now
of the train, we also had one dude who wanted to build a train here, but it was funny because we had a candidate in Mayol. He proposed a train that was from Arica to Punta Arenas in our country. The funny thing about all of this is that this was an idea proposed from years before he arrived. He just took it out, but see, a pharaonic project. You use that word, or he used it.
Peña Nieto wanted to build that train before AMLO. But he said 3 years into his tenure, and the finance secretary tell the public that there's not enough money to build that thing. And well, that's another thing. AMLO wants to build it on the current railway infrastructure. The current railway infrastructure is not suited to touristic train, as many people is thinking. The railway system in Europe. It's still the same railway that Porfirio Diaz laid down there back in the beginning of the 20th century.
That always makes it a much better experience, when a former dictator has built it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to touch upon all the fun stuff AMLO's doing. We're gonna have like an AMLO watch.
Yeah, you need to do like a special episode just on AMLO.
Oh, we've got so many special episodes coming up, though, don't we, guys? I'm looking forward to our next one, which is going to be historical.
Oh.
Yeah, we're making a history special for next episode, where the topic we're deciding the topic. So stay tuned if you like history.
Yeah, It's mostly going to be, for now, starting off around the wonderful, colorful conflicts of South America, which aren't very wonderful, but are ridiculously colorful, though. And one even involves a president getting stabbed in the groin during a battle.
Yep.
By a man called Chico Diablo, which sounds like either a lucha libre name or a porn name, or both. So that'll be interesting. Do we want to briefly touch up on Kavanaugh?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Recently,
because I don't know about him.
Well, there's been recently a new allegation that was held onto by Senator from California, Dianne Feinstein, where Brett Kavanaugh has been accused of raping somebody in high school. Now, now mind you, this is like 135 years ago, because Kavanaugh is an old white guy. But no, long story short, I mean, it is a serious allegation, but I find this happens every election. You look at like Trump. When Trump ran, there's all these people with vague assumptions that he molested women, he grabbed them by the vaginas. Because
grab the pussy, anyone?
Yeah.
But even though everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's rape," but he's like, "No, they let you do it. They love it." So that's kind of here nor there. But now they say, Kavanaugh forced himself with another guy on a girl. But I'm honestly, I hate to say it, I'm not convinced, because they've tried this trick so many times, and there's only so much you can get away with. Before the people get, before they get upset and they don't believe it. So it's hard to say. And also, if this was such a big thing, why did it all of a sudden come up when Kavanaugh was getting nominated for the Supreme Court? Why didn't it come up while he was judge or anything else, or a politician or anything like that?
Yeah, it's like when Justice Clarence Thomas in the United States was being, there were their hearings for, the nomination for the Supreme Court. He's a really conservative judge there.
Oh, he's a really constitutional judge.
Yeah, and I think they played that same card of the sexual abuse allegations, and people was like, "Really? Come on!" I mean, if he wasn't more leaning to the Republicans, the Democrats will be all out for him. I mean, he's a African American judge, but since he's not dancing to the tune they play, they decided to slander him with sexual allegations.
Yeah, and that's what they do. I find that's one thing that the Democrats generally do, is if someone they don't like, they come up and call them like a rapist, and they think that as soon as they say rapist, it's going to end their career. Or, because, I mean, it's a really brilliant move, because who wants people to say, like, you voted for a rapist? And the congressman would be like, no, I didn't vote for this rapist. I I didn't know they were rapists until I discovered they were rapists.
Yeah, and there is supposedly the Senator Feinstein, that the from California, the one that came up with the allegations, uh, supposedly sit on them for at least 2 months before coming forward with them.
It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it's
It's really
really.
it's
Yep.
suspicious. It's a really suspicious time.
Yeah, totally.
But I mean, like either way, Kavanaugh's going to get confirmed, and it will bring the United States judiciary to a more constitutional stance. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I don't think he will overturn Roe versus Wade. So
No, but I mean, here's the thing, and people seem to think about like Roe versus Wade that it can't be changed. It must remain there. But the thing is that it can, because it's a law, and all laws can be changed.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But guys, I think we've covered most of our topics tonight.
I think everyone here is tired.
I think we all are. It's been a busy week for all of us.
Yeah.
But next week we are going to have the first of hopefully many history streams, which is going to be awesome.
That will be cool.
So if you decide that you want us to cover a conflict, guys, let us know through our Qué Pasó Podcast Twitter.
yeah. The handle is QP slash underscore. It's underscore
Yes.
Yeah, QP underscore podcast.
Yeah. Or you can join us on Discord too. We have a server.
Mhm.
It's called what? Tenochtitlan.
Yes.
I think we should put the Discord out in. Well, the Discord is out in our on our Twitter.
Yeah.
So
You can chat with us. Tell us what you think, and if you think we can improve this, by all means, tell us.
Mhm.
yeah, we definitely want to make this better. I mean, but mostly because now we spend more time offline chatting than we do with them. But we end up getting into the good conversations, and I mean that's what makes this such a good podcast to do. And once again, I mean I always like doing this with you guys. It is fun. It's a nice little thing to get away from the monotony of life.
Yes.
So I don't see us stopping any time in the future, and we'll need some more guests like our Cafecita.
Yes.
We need her.
The
Especially,
Pachalama.
especially for the Guerra del Pacifico.
Yes. I need a Peruvian. I need a Peruvian here.
Yeah,
I'm going to
I'm
beat
only Peruvian by association.
Yeah, I'm going to beat her like I beat her. They beat them in the Pacific War.
Oh, don't try that, because next thing you know, you'll see on the news, the Huascar has exploded. Peruvians blamed.
Peruvian commandos just snatched it from our hands. Who knows?
Yeah, but guys, it's been fun. This is Ernest and Ozzy and Eduardo. You guys want to say anything before we cut the stream off?
I will just say that I'm happy to do this with you guys, and I hope that we can still do it. And I hope that we also be working very hard on improving the quality of our show. Yeah, that's all that I can say.
Yes. And well, we are improving in the number of spectators. So thank you for watching.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so thank you guys. And in the future, we might even have one in Spanish. And since Llama is still listening, come on our show soon. We need you, Llama. You created us. You are essentially our podcast mom.
Llama.
So yeah, she's our Yama mama. So she birthed us.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to have you on soon.
Yeah.
So, and to Caroline's streaming channel, thank you very much for supporting us. We appreciate it. Spread the word. And to everyone else who is watching us, Filter, Umbrella, and of course Cafecita, muchas gracias. Thank you very much. This has been another fun episode of the Qué Pasó Podcast. Have a good night.
See ya.
Good night. Yeah.